Welcome to the Road to Mayhem podcast,
where we discuss living on the road with a family of 5. In this episode, we'll talk about how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and how we're staying sane. How we plan to stay sane throughout the whole thing.
Absolutely. Did you want me to say that?
No, we can just keep going.
Okay. Let's do this. Cue the intro music. Thanks for joining us today. On this episode, we're going to discuss why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and
our plans.
The mistakes we've made so far.
Yeah.
Actually, we haven't made too many mistakes.
No, not yet. Probably will in the future. I think my
later episodes.
My one of my newly found mottos is I'm going to fail, but I'm not going to quit.
I've never failed in my life.
I like the attitude of like it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
As long as you don't quit. You know.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, we should get that.
Because that's what I started doing that when I started homeschooling the kids this year. Was like, I'm probably going to not be great at this in the beginning.
Oh, but you were great.
I mean, we got through it to the end, but there was a few moments in there where I felt like I was failing.
Yeah.
But then you get to the end and you're like, okay, we're doing good. And I didn't quit.
Let's do it. Let's do it through the summer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Let's keep doing it.
A little bit. Okay, so for this episode, we wanted to first start out with who we are and who our family is. So I'm Joy McNamara, and this is...
I'm Sean McNamara.
We've been...
47 years old.
No.
No?
We're both 33.
I'm Sean McNamara, both 33.
And we've been married for about 10 years. And recently we got this crazy idea to travel full-time. And we're making plans and working through the steps to sell the house and get on the road. Now,
we should probably discuss that it was not a mutual decision because I bet a lot of people, at first, I bet a lot of people were thinking the same thing with, how does a husband and wife decide that?
Yeah.
But actually, it was your idea.
Yeah.
And you convinced me after a while.
Yeah.
Actually, the RVs convinced me because I can barely stand a road trip for 3 days. Actually, 6 hours.
I think you were on board with the idea.
Just because I love you.
Hadn't fully committed to it. Because you went and looked at RVs.
There was a commitment issue. There was a commitment issue.
Well, because I feel like you decided, okay, we'll do this because we started looking at RVs and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until you saw the RV that it was like
idea.
the conceptualization of like, okay, like I can see it happening now.
Yeah.
Instead of just it being like I don't know how this will work, but maybe kind of idea.
Yeah. The fact is that we have 3 daughters.
Yeah. 3 daughters, 9, 3 and 1 currently.
Yes. And 3 cats.
Yeah.
And a Great Dane
mix.
Yeah. We have a full family.
Yeah. And we're not planning on getting rid of them, even though some of our close relatives think we should get rid of animals before we go on the road. But that's
thanks, Mom.
Not the plan.
Yeah, so that's a pretty tight area for living.
Yeah.
With everybody.
Yeah. So the idea...
Dogs and cats included.
Yeah. Well, and the idea came around... Should I go into like the full idea?
Yeah, they probably want to hear that.
Okay.
What's the idea?
So
why are they listening to us?
Yeah. Okay. Well, my thought process behind this was years ago, there was a lady that I follow on Instagram, and I still follow her. Her name is Joy Prouty. JoyProuty on Instagram.
Shout out to Joy.
And first of all, she's an amazingly inspirational person. She's an amazing photographer. She's inspired me to like be a better photographer. She's just everything about her is awesome. So, but she decided, I think she has 5 kids now, but at the time I'm pretty sure she had 4. And her youngest was really little, like maybe Murphy's age or younger.
Wow.
That's our youngest one. And they renovated a Airstream, and it wasn't a large Airstream. It was fairly small for their kids and them. And they went on the road and they traveled around the United States, and they ended up moving all the way across. I think they started out in like on the East Coast in like North Carolina or something. I forget. And then they went all the way to Seattle and stopped and bought a house and lived there for like a year or two. But at the time I was like, this is crazy. Like, who would do this? But I thought it was awesome. Like, I was like, I wish that made sense to me. And at the time it didn't, but I thought it was cool that they did it and were able to do it. And I think also at the time was about the time we were getting done with school and we were ready to live the typical American dream.
Oh, yeah.
And like in suburban Illinois. And, you know, we were ready to settle down outside Chicago and like have the typical house where you have all the neighbors and you guys have the outdoor barbecues.
It's great. It's enjoyable.
And so we did that and we bought our house and we have the outdoor barbecues with our neighbors and we have the good school districts and all those things that you think, I mean, that we thought we wanted. And then we lived here for about, 2 or 3 years. And I mean, it's been 5 or 6 now, but at the time, like 2 or 3 years ago, we were like, I started thinking like, I want more than this. Like, I want adventure and I want travel. And so around that time, I started following some other people on Instagram, including 188 Square Feet.
Yeah, I like them.
They're amazing. 188 sqft on Instagram, and a few other ones. And they're all full-time RVers or full-time traveling. And it was
I still think you're insane at this point in time.
Yeah, he still thought. Well, so I start my technique on like trying to get you on board with things is first I just start going, oh my gosh, like look how cool this is, and like we should get an RV or we should travel more or whatever. And then the more I look at it, the more I convince myself I want to do it. The more I just show him these things like, oh, look how cool this is. Look how cool this is. And at some point I convinced you that it was like a real idea and we should consider doing it.
Yeah.
And I think
the convincing part, the turning point in my decision, I guess, or my being on board was probably looking at those RVs. And those trailers. Actually, they're not RVs, they're trailers. We saw a few RVs, but what made sense to me is how much room you had when you walked into the RV.
Yeah. It was
I keep saying RV, but when you walked into the trailer,
it was like a fifth wheel trailer.
You had kitchen islands in there.
It was about the size of like a really small apartment.
Yeah, and that's okay.
You might get in like New York City or something, I suppose.
I bet you can get
probably one
smaller apartments and then a trailer in New York.
Yeah.
But that's when reality hit, is when I saw how much room they had inside, and sometimes I don't even. I mean, 90% of the time I don't go in half of the rooms in our house.
Yeah. And I think when I look back, I'm like, when we bought the house, I remember it was like empty for months and months and months, where it was like we had a couch in one room and a table in one room, and we had like nothing. And slowly we just filled it up. And granted, I love the house and I do feel so blessed to have the house and everything that we have in it. But it's like you get to a point where you realize like, why do I have all this stuff? And like, wouldn't I rather trade the things for moments or experiences? And I would rather not have all the things and go on the road and appreciate nature and the things like God has created.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that was, I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say. But the American dream, there was a reality there that the American dream is a pipe dream to me. We got what we wanted 5 years ago, and then we wanted something more, and then we wanted something more, and then we wanted something more, and it's a consistent pipe dream there that you always want the next step, and there's not enough to fulfill you, or there's not enough that you're going to say, okay, I'm good and I'm content and I'm happy, because there's more stuff and there's more stress.
It's
and
the materialism of the world of just like,
and there's really,
next?
it's really, it's almost like a sickness that you can say, okay, like, what do I want next? But to release yourself from that and say, okay, these things aren't important to me. What's really important is going on, being with my family, and what can I fit in a suitcase that can actually then be content with in the military. It's the same thing. All your stuff fits into a gorilla box.
Yeah. Well, we had both gone on deployment in 2008, and we had to
but that's your life.
Big box.
Yeah.
And that's what you get to bring with you.
Everything else is replaceable. But obviously your equipment and your gear goes into it. But most of those things can be replaceable.
Yeah.
And we're the same people we were, if not, we were stronger people than when we were before we joined.
Yeah.
And then you realize that all you're doing is still collecting stuff. Yeah. And I always bring up George Carlin and that you're always wanting more stuff. People get storage units to house more stuff.
Yeah. What's the quote? It's like you buy...
Insert clip here.
And I don't know how you are, but I need a place to put my stuff. So that's what I've been doing back there, just trying to find a place for my stuff. You know how important that is. That's the whole meaning of life, isn't it? Trying to find a place for your stuff. That's all your house is. Your house is just a place for your stuff. If you didn't have so much goddamn stuff, you wouldn't need a house.
Yeah.
The George Carlin.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think the thing I think about with the military is like, we went on the deployment and we had a big box and we'd put all our things in storage.
Yeah, you don't need that stuff.
And then we get back and we're like opening this storage unit and it's like we got away with not needing any of this.
For me, there was never
like a year.
There was never one single item that I was like, I wish I had this.
I had this with me. Yeah, exactly.
I wished I had movie theater popcorn.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
Yeah.
In like month 7 of that deployment.
I don't remember.
But that's about it.
I think the only thing I wished
and sweet tea
that I had was
food related.
Different.
That's surprising.
No, tank tops. We weren't allowed to wear tank tops in Kuwait. We weren't allowed to show our shoulders. I was like,
oh, so I forgot. Yeah.
I bought new clothes while I was there, and I was like, and then my shorts. I had to. Girls weren't allowed to wear shorts above the knee, so I had to buy new clothes while I was there. And that was where I think longer or shorter shorts and tank tops were the only thing I missed.
Yeah. But there was not a piece of material that,
but
an item that you never.
It wasn't like, I wish I had all the things in my storage unit or whatever.
That's the
or my
sickness
phone.
that I talked about.
I didn't even miss my phone. Like we couldn't bring our phones. I mean, some people had their phones, and I remember thinking, because they had satellite phones. Yeah. And I remember thinking, like, I don't care about this. They had like their razors that like had the satellite signal on it. They'd like buy them at the NEX and stuff. Yeah. And I remember thinking, like, I don't need that. Not that I'm going to get rid of my phone to go on the road.
The point is, the reality that we want to face is that there's no material item in this world more important than the family and the time spent with it. And I think there's no job. Yeah. There's nothing that I've collected over the years that's more important than spending time with you guys.
Yeah.
And that is the driving factor for me.
Yeah.
And then finding that trailer that can house all the stuff that we want.
Well,
and still be okay.
Yeah. And so
is to release ourselves from this crutch.
Yeah. Well, and
is that the right word?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think also when your brother passed away, I just remember you saying to me, like, this makes me want to go on the road even more, because he didn't get to see anything of the world. He got to see Arizona, he got to see Illinois, he got to see Florida.
Never went out of country.
Yeah. And so I just remember you saying, like, this makes me want to go on the road more, because he didn't get to see anything. Yep. And life is short, and I don't know when, and his, he we found out that he had cancer in January. He died in April. Like, it was so fast and so short. He didn't even have time, like people say, oh, if I had a week to live or if I had a month to live, this is what I do. And he didn't even get to do any, he didn't even get to have like that, I have a month left, I'm going to do this, because it was so fast and it wasn't, we didn't know.
Yeah.
It was just like, all of a sudden it's like, you're going to die next week. It was crazy. I mean, it was, that's how it was. And so it's like, I feel like that's what solidified it in you, as that spirit of like, I need to go do something, because you don't know if it's going to happen to you, you don't know if you're going to get or anything.
Hit by a bus tomorrow.
Exactly.
You can be pooping and have a brain aneurysm.
Yeah. And I think
like the guy from The Sopranos.
You said that. Yeah. Well, and I think about like I know one of the things that triggered it for me that made it like, we need to do this was, and I've talked about this before, but like the, with you, I guess, there was a redwood tree in California.
Oh yeah. The one you can drive through.
That you could drive through. And I think there's other ones, but there was one specific
This was the original one.
that was like a really special tree that you could drive under in California, and it collapsed. And this was a couple years ago. But I remember thinking, like, we will never get to do that. Like, we'll never get to drive under that specific tree. Mm-hmm. And, like, maybe that tree isn't super special, but it symbolized to me that, like, not only is our life short, but things happen. And, like, we don't know that, like, next year, like, something could blow up, or like a tornado hits something, or, like, the bell tower in, Notre Dame, like, caught on fire. It's like, you don't know what could happen, even if it's a natural disaster or man-made disaster. Something could happen and things could get taken out, and then we'll never get to see them. And so my thing is like, anything could happen. So why not experience these things while they are there and while we can?
Yep.
So I think that was really the why for us, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of whys. Well, yeah. Another why I wanted to mention is, 4 or 5 years ago, I read an article, and it was caregivers asking questions to those near death.
I remember this.
Yeah, and it was one of those questions that kind of strike you as you wouldn't. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. But the question was, and these are people closer to death, what do you regret the most in life? And these people are, thinking back on their careers, on their life and their experiences. And the overwhelming majority of them regretted not spending more time with their family. Mm-hmm. They say, well, I spent too much time on my career and it ended up not being worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, sure, obviously it pays the bills. Obviously you need a job.
Yeah.
But the dedication to the 9 to 5 in 2019 is dead. To me, I mean, that sounded bad because I got really close to the mic. It's just kind of dead.
Dead.
But like going back to our grandparents, they could work 20, 25 years and retire and be fine.
Yeah, I was surprised your grandpa.
Yeah.
He just like retired at what, 45, 50?
Yeah, maybe 50. And he retired.
Young.
And it might be a dream to some people. He sat on his recliner and watched daytime TV. Mm-hmm. Maybe, I mean, that's not my dream, but in this day and age, there's no sure thing, especially retirement, especially, doing this. So why would you dedicate your 9 to 5, your majority of your life? Mm-hmm. It's paying the bills, but it's, why are you doing that? Why are you wasting your time?
Yeah.
And the reality is, a lot of people don't have that opportunity. So we are blessed in that way, but we made it a point to make this a reality.
Yeah. For sure.
We're working hard and we're going to continue to work hard.
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
We're able to do this because Sean runs a marketing company.
It's RLC
RLCmedia.com.
But So I think that's the major points. What else we got? We talked about
how we're going to make it work. That's the last one.
We could talk about that. We didn't. I mean, I guess I got over the. Going back. I guess I got over the hump. And the reality is, I saw how big these trailers can be and how we could do it.
Yeah.
And those toy haulers. The toy haulers will change my mind too.
Let me
having an office. Yeah.
Back up a little bit.
So let's back up.
Just real quick.
Because we're moving quick.
So when I first started bugging him about it, before he was on board, before any of that happened, I was like, let's renovate a bus. Let's build a tiny house. Because he's handy. He can build things. He could build a tiny house if he wanted.
Yeah, no thank you.
And I was like, we should build a tiny house. Because look, we can customize it and do whatever we want. Look, we should renovate a bus because we can customize it and do whatever we want. Hey, we should get like a really cheap old trailer or toy haul, whatever.
1978 Bluebird bus.
Yeah. I was looking at the Class C's where there's the bed above it's like a Ford truck.
Yeah, see that I think that was giving me the anxiety that
and they're small.
That's the anxiety trigger there. It's like how we're not doing this.
Well, my thought,
I can't do this with a Highlander for 6 hours.
Well, and I think my thought probably, I don't know for sure, but I think that what I was thinking was, I'm not going to be able to get him on board if it's going to cost a lot of money. I thought I was trying to like pinch a penny and be like, okay, buying a bus, $5,000, we can renovate it. It'll be cheap. Buy a cheap Airstream that we can renovate. Build. I looked into building tiny houses. Those are like cheap end. It was like $30,000. So I thought, let's do it. We'll build it. We'll be good to go.
Good to go.
And then when you started getting on board, you started saying, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. And you were like, let's look at RVs because I don't want to just go on the road with a piece of crap that's going to fall apart in the middle of the road.
Yes, trailers. Yeah. Well, we started looking at the RVs. And then I realized that those are $200,000.
Well, we can go into that on another episode. But yeah, so we started looking. So
if you're deciding, and if you're trying to decide if this is the right path to take, I would encourage anybody to start looking at RVs and trailers and
look at all your
discussing the
options,
pros and cons.
Because there are some people that renovate buses and they love it.
Completely
There's some people
understandable. Yes,
that there's people that I've seen that run out of Class C's. There's people that I've seen that run out of tiny houses. There's all sorts of things you can do, and it works for them. But our biggest thing was that Sean was not going to be on board if he didn't fully trust the equipment, the vehicles, the and another huge thing.
Huge thing. I know where you're going with this. My office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He needs his own office.
I need the office.
He can't just work on a computer.
How do you go on a road and not have an office?
Well, and I think it would be different if it was just you and me. If it was just you and me,
the kitchen
would be
could
quiet.
Be an office.
It didn't matter.
My couch,
But what with 3 daughters, the youngest being 3 and 1.
Yeah.
Like there's no way you could get any. I can't get any work done. My office will be
the
if they're awake.
The cab of the truck.
Yeah. So he needed his own space. And just having a little desk wasn't going to do it.
That was the turning point. It's like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
We looked at the toy haulers. And
I think I kept saying
42-foot toy haulers, this is enough.
Yeah, I think
for us.
And we'll go into this on another episode, but I think when I started looking, 188 square feet, they used to have a trailer that was 188 square feet. That's why they named it. Well, they recently, I think a year ago, they bought a toy hauler and they renovated it. And I kept saying we should look at renovating a toy hauler. We should look at a toy hauler. And I think when I first started saying, you were like, oh yeah, whatever. Like that's not going to work or whatever.
Yep.
And then when we went into one, you were like,
oh yeah, let's do this. Okay, this makes more sense. Yeah. Yep. I keep playing with my mic. I don't know where to put it.
I know. I keep talking to you like this, and then I regret it because when I turn like this, it sounds so much better.
Oh,
I'm probably going to blow out though doing it like this.
No.
Anyway, so I think that's probably it for episode 1.
So on the next episodes, as we progress through this, we're going to talk about what truck we've picked, what trucks we were looking at. Yes.
To haul the toy hauler, which
we settled for a Ford Ranger
Sport
for
the extra.
And I think we can handle at least 500 towing there.
He's joking.
We're going to talk about the trailer that we picked, and then we're going to talk about everything involved in this. So we're talking about getting the house prep for sale. We're going to talk about what to pack, what's going in long-term storage, what's not going in long-term storage, what's going into our trailer, moving into the trailer.
We're going to have an episode all about
trailer.
tech gear and what tech gear that we like, road cams.
Oh, man. Yeah, road cams. Yeah, drones.
Drones.
We're going to make this legit. Let's make this really legit.
The
only thing about this is that I don't like.
What?
Is my voice on this podcast.
You sound good. It's okay.
Okay.
The more you listen to it, the better you'll like it.
Yeah, we'll see. But we're going to go through all these things, and this is going to be the great. This is going to be the great aspect of the podcast. Is hopefully we help other people into this adventure, and hopefully this isn't just a 6 month or a 9 month thing. Absolutely, I want to be in another house.
Oh yeah,
but I don't want this just to be a blip on the radar of our life. I want to continue traveling and continue finding adventures with you guys.
Yeah, and
living life to the highest potential.
Yeah,
and that's going to be exciting.
Yeah,
that's going to be really exciting. And that's the purpose of this. Finite time on this earth. Is how do you spend it?
Truth.
In the best way possible.
Truth. Right there.
You're going to shed a tear.
I'm crying right now. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do this.
So we'll talk to you guys in the next episode.
Tag along on our adventure together.